All righty. I think we're live.
Says
Hey,
we are.
the Bald
No.
Brotherhood is in place today.
Bald men rule the world, right?
The two thorns, no rose. So, yeah, well, let's let everybody sync up. Let the show begin, country just said. Yes, sir. So, Lindsay is off doing Lindsay type things. Who knows? Sometimes she'll pop in if she can, but I think she's probably going to be taking the day off, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So, I've got my brother from another mother, although he's got to go to a goatee, not a full beard. And he's got a little more up here than I do.
That's gotta go, because that's all.
That's about what mine would be if I let it grow in.
Oh,
I think I've shared this before. I don't know if you know this, Curtis. Memorial Day of 2007, I shaved my head and I've never looked back.
yeah. When I went to basic training in 2000, so I had a full head of hair, and then you know how they buzz you.
Yep.
At basic training. I tried to grow it when I got back from basic training. This. And I was like, well, that was done.
Mine wasn't that bad when I decided to shave it, but I know because I can kind of feel it now because it's a little scruffy right now. But yeah, she's now my ex-wife, but when my wife, because she went away every Memorial Day weekend with her sisters and all that, it was like a girls' trip. She came home to this, and boy, was she missed. She got used to it, and actually she ended up liking it. So that was that. All right, well, the crew is all here. I see Steve, Country, Maggie's on. Dirty Maggie. Oh, sorry. Somebody from the Boy Meets Squirrel show. I guess that's you. And over on TikTok, they're slowly but surely climbing on to have a discussion on something Curtis actually mentioned. Was it last week? I think you mentioned it, right?
Well, yes, we were talking about after the show. We were talking about financial hardship and how it's affecting men in a very negative way. And I was like, well, let's do it.
And I think it's an important topic. I've covered it off and on different things with my channel. Neither one of us, disclaimer, is financial gurus or advisors, although I've done all right. And by the way, I'm going to put this out there. If I suddenly disappear, there's a major thunderstorm going on. Just before we came on air, a crack of lightning hit like within a block of me. So if I disappear, it's all yours, Curtis. You can handle it, my friend. You'll have to. But yeah, so if I suddenly, and if you'll notice, I'm kind of in the dark. I'm going for a little feng shui, a little ambiance, mostly because it's 98 freaking degrees where I am right now with about 100% humidity. And if I turn my overhead lights on, all you're going to see is sweat.
You're going to sweat.
So I recorded a podcast yesterday and I got this towel here and, I cut to her as she's talking and I'm doing this all over my head. It was crazy. But yeah. So anyway, financial stuff. So guys, we want to hear from you guys on this, right? So, we all know a lot of people are struggling financially. A lot of people are. And we're going to come at it from the men's perspective. But honestly, I think it's safe to say that anything we say about what men are going through, with very few exceptions, it's going to apply to women also, right? It's a tough time. Oh, Molly's in the background. Say hi to Molly. She does not like thunderstorms. But over the last 5 to 10 years, I mean, things have gotten really tough, right? And as I was telling Curtis before we went on air, he knows I'm fairly insulated from it. But I buy a lot of eggs.
We're about to get a chicken coop.
I would love to. My wife won't let me. I actually looked this up not too long ago. So roughly this time in 2020, so it was during the pandemic, I bought, because you can go back in your thing, I bought 5 dozen eggs from Walmart for $1.78. I just did my order this week to pick up tomorrow, and it was just under $5 for a dozen. So, we all talk about eggs, and the issue with that is they keep killing all the chickens, so there's not enough being made. But it kind of illustrates what we're talking about, and there's a lot of people I talk to guys all the time. I know you do too, Curtis. Sorry, my nose is itchy. They're not just living paycheck to paycheck. They're scraping pennies out of the couch, especially the divorced guys.
Yeah. I mean, when I did the worksheet, or the little thing I send out to you and Lindsay, I mean, I broke it down. Let's say the typical income is $5,000 net per month. You spend $2,000 of that in child support. Now you're left with only $3,000, and then if we're using the average numbers, it's $1,800 per month on a mortgage. That's leaving you $1,200 per month for fuel, utilities, food. You're like, I mean, and to have that kind of income, you have to be a tradesman or have a college degree or something, and you got to have a pretty decent job for that, and it's just not.
They're not there.
No, I mean,
for guys especially.
Well, $5,800 a month take home is $106,000
ballpark. Yeah,
ballpark.
Right around there.
At five, you're talking 80, 90, depending on your state and the number of issues. But at the end of the day, $1,200 to keep your gas tank filled so you can get to work, and to keep your stuff, like your cupboards filled. It's insane, because I know that from Jamie and I, when we would have all 6 of the boys there, $3,700 a month in 2021.
Oh, easily.
Yeah,
right? Easily.
And that's having 6 boys and us 2 adults in the house. It's insane.
And I think back. So what was that? 2021.
Yeah.
So I'll go back to 2001. Right. I was a stay-at-home that year, raising 6 kids with my then wife. So like you, 8 of us in the house. Right. 8 is enough. Now, food for us was about $100 a week, but I had massive gardens. Right. So even taking that out of the equation, though, but that's the difference. You're talking food. It's probably $400 to $500 a month. It's what, triple that now, quadruple that, just for food,
right?
And median income really hasn't raised all that much. I don't remember the numbers back then. It was probably in the area of somewhere around 40,000, give or take. And I may be going high even a little bit on that, but not too far. And I'm using New York State numbers now. New York State now, the average income's probably right around your 60 number.
Yeah, we were like average annual income in the United States is 66,622.
And that counts for California, New York.
Right, that's everyone. And the median, which is more the middle of the road, is 61,984. So it's
even that's skewed, right?
But even that's skewed. If you were to take, a lot of it's based on cost of living. So if like the cost of living in a place like Mississippi or Alabama, it's a lot less. But you go into a more urban area. Let's say you go to Illinois, New York.
Yeah.
California.
You go to the bigger cities or the states that have bigger cities. I live in North Carolina. Our median income is somewhere high 40s, give or take. But that number's climbing because Raleigh is just booming right now, right? Charlotte, I think, is top 10 now. Where I am in the southeastern part of the state, our population has more than doubled and in some areas tripled. But the jobs aren't there. One of the things that I wanted to kind of relay to people is stay the hell away from North Carolina, will you? We have, people, and I understand it. They're leaving New York because there's no jobs there either and coming here. I live in a tourist area. The median income here, I don't know the number, but it's a service industry. There are no manufacturing jobs. There's probably less than 1,000 total. It's all service tourism.
I would imagine it's like wage. What, a lot like Pigeon Forge in Gatlinburg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Molly's freaking out. And you look at those people, and I talk to people all the time, and it's both men and women. The average rent, I'll use my mortgage as an example. I bought this house, pretty substantial down payment, but my actual mortgage is about $420 a month.
Mm-hmm.
With taxes all in, my mortgage payment when I bought this house in 2017 was just under $700. That was all in everything. Insurance, and we have high insurance because we're in a hurricane zone.
Right.
Now it's close to $1,100. My mortgage hasn't changed at all, right? Your mortgage payment doesn't change. But taxes have skyrocketed. Insurance, they just hit us with depending on where you are, 16 to 18% increase. And there's another one already scheduled for next year. How guys in particular that are divorced are going to go through this, I don't know. And it's why you're seeing the homeless population skyrocket in our area. I don't know about yours. Is it any different in Iowa?
So the homeless population is almost exclusively in only 2 of the towns, and that would be Des Moines and Ames.
So the bigger cities.
Yeah, and even the border towns, the homeless rates are not as high, because what they're finding is like places like Nebraska, Minnesota, Illinois, South Dakota, their Medicaid rates are better. Their SNAP benefits are higher. So they're leaving Iowa to go. Yeah.
I wonder if that's why they come here, because we have our homeless population is skyrocketing also. Mm-hmm. Now, some of it obviously is weather, right? I mean,
yeah,
it makes a big difference in the South versus, say, New York.
Mm-hmm.
But I am noticing it. Driving down the street, you're seeing more and more, and it's not. I hate to say it this way, the typical homeless. That's awful, I know, but I'm seeing younger and younger guys in their 20s and 30s, because they'll stand by the road or whatever begging, right?
Yeah.
And I see that, and it used to be you'd see one, maybe two as you're driving down like one main drag. Now they're at every corner, every stoplight.
Yeah.
And I've talked to the politicians here, and their solution is more low-cost housing. That's their fix for everything. We're going to invest another $5 million in low-cost housing. Well, they spent $2 million and put up 6 structures. That ain't, But I look at my fear. My true fear is the younger guys, and I want the younger guys to chime in, tell us how you're struggling, right? Let us know, because I'm genuinely curious. I'm seeing more and more of the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, even the families with 2 incomes, just struggling. And I don't think there's any solution in the horizon. I don't think either party gives a crap. They talk the talk, but I don't see anybody actually doing anything. I have a friend that is in Chicago that works for a homeless shelter, actually runs it. And he's long said it's mental illness is the biggest driver of it all. Mm-hmm. But I talked to him not too long ago, and he goes, the financial side's really starting to ramp up.
I believe it.
And
here's the thing. They get so far into the debt. It like there's little to no like coming back, because what did we see? We saw that one lady, that the one attorney general that posted here recently where they were going after the deadbeat dads for Mother's Day. And so many hundreds of thousands behind.
Yeah, it was in Suffolk County.
Like, really? Like, what is this? Like, okay, you want to go after these folks for being so far behind, but here's the problem. Guess what? Your child support guidelines are so damn out of whack. Come on.
And they won't adjust them.
No, they won't. I mean, here's the thing. why does the child support? Okay, so if you were to do like a bankruptcy means test, it's great because it tells you that the cost of groceries and personal hygiene for a family of 4 is about $1,200 a month. About, give or take, right?
Depending where you are too. But
so that means that one person is on average about $400. Okay, fine. Somewhere in there, 300, 400. Okay, and that's probably even on the high side. So if you say $400 and I say child support is supposed to be needs-based, make it flat rate. $200 per month per kid. Guess what? You get rid of deadbeat dads. You get rid of those guys that are saying, hey, I'm not going to make more money to pay her more money. It would stimulate the economy to no end. I guarantee you would boost the economy in quick fashion.
Well, I mean, I've long advocated along the similar lines. What you're talking about is look at what they pay per kid through welfare.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we have the same guidelines for child support, right? So if we're going to say, and I'm just picking a number, let's say a kid is worth, because they are, it's their property that become worth something in the divorce, right? If we're going to say that a kid is worth $1,000 a month, just hypothetically speaking, and that's what the state would pay if it was welfare, then it shouldn't be a penny more under child support and split by the parents, right? So in that case, in that scenario, both parents should pony up $500, period. And when you look at the analysis, now it's been a long time since I've done a full analysis, like over a decade. But when you look at that as a means test and all that stuff, that's about the number that you actually look at, right? So, and I've talked with judges. I know you have. I've talked with politicians, and they're like, well, rent is, what was the number you said is the average now, 1,800?
Rent, well, it depends on what they're doing, but yeah, I mean, for a 2-bedroom, it's 1886 per month.
So let's say that it's a 2-bedroom. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's a 2-bedroom apartment, house, condo, whatever, right? What's a 1-bedroom? 1,500?
12 to 15, depending on where you are, the square footage.
I'll tell you right now, here, a 1-bedroom, you're looking 1,500 to 1,800.
Yeah.
2-bedroom, you're looking 18 to 2-ish. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not $1,800 in rent for the child. It's $300, $400, $500. That's not how it's thought of, right?
Right. And I mean, we see the average rent for 3 bedrooms. Let's say you got more than 2 kids. That's almost $2,400 that we're looking at.
But then the other side of it is they'll say, you had 6 kids, I had 6 kids. Well, each kid should have their own bedroom. So now you're trying to pay for a 7-bedroom house, right? We had a 3-bedroom, 3 kids in one, 3 kids in the other, and my wife and I had the third.
Mm-hmm.
Brady Bunch style.
We had 2 bunk beds in each one.
So did we.
Yep.
Right? That's what you had to do.
Yeah.
Because that was the way it was. But child support doesn't really calculate it that way. They look at, well, it's $1,800 a month. Well, there's 3 kids. Well, it's got to be $2,400 a month, right? And they start lumping this in, and then this is one of the things that I wanted to get into. We're getting into a little earlier than I planned on, but we look at our spending. Mm-hmm. As a society, we spend way too much money. Now, I use myself as an example. I'm doing okay. I drive a 15-year-old minivan with Lindsay. If she were here, she will laugh because she's seen it. Okay. The paint's peeling. It's got 80,000 miles on it. I upkeep it. My total cost, I paid cash for it. I paid about $5,000 for it 6 years ago. Never had a car payment on it. My total maintenance costs for the year are less than the average monthly car payment, which is about $700 now. Total. That's everything, including gas. I live very frugally. The one thing I spend money on is coffee. That's it. And when we go to Costco, we spend $100 a month on coffee. Okay. But people will drop $100 a week at Starbucks and then go, I can't afford to live. Well, you got to live to your means, you know, and that's one of the things. Like when I'm working with guys going through divorce, it's like cut. First thing you need to do, because I hear all of guys reach out to me. Yeah, Steve, 15 years and only 80,000 miles. I bought it with 51. I don't drive a lot other than to the beach on a rainy day. Normally I walk it. But when I'm talking with the guys, it's like you have to cut every expense possible. Every expense.
Yeah.
I remember when my first divorce, I was living on ramen noodles and cheeseburgers at McDonald's was basically it. I used to save my money for when I had the kids. That's when I would have decent meals. And, you know, that's what I had to do. And I was working 2 jobs at the time.
So it's funny because the 3 things that I look at when I'm coaching men is tobacco, alcohol, soda. Cut it out.
All of it. And not just for health reasons. I cut them for health reasons also, but
yeah.
You know, I've never smoked a day in my life. I don't know what that costs, but I know it ain't cheap.
For a pack of 20 was like $8 something.
Okay.
And they go through 2 a day. It's a pack a day.
Pack or 2 a day. You know, that starts adding up, right? But you know, sometimes you've got to make these kind of sacrifices. And that's why I say to guys, if you're going through a divorce, cut, and then go back and cut some more, and then go back and cut some more, right? You might have to give up your Netflix subscription. You might have to give up your Xbox subscription. It's all get down to what do you need to survive? You need a roof over your head, at least some food in your belly, water to drink, and your car probably to get to and from work.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Everything else, I mean, lights and all that, obviously, but
right.
I lump that into housing. Everything else is not a need, it's a want. And that's where, you know, you've got to cut back. And guys struggle with that. And that's where I think you're really going to see it get worse now because we're so addicted to
stuff.
Right? How many subscriptions do you have for your TV right now?
Between the 2 of us, probably 10.
10, really?
We do.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I'm not judging. I'm just going, wow.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the other thing is so
that you pay for, though.
Yes, that we pay for.
Because I'll tell you what I do.
We bundle ours through our cell phone subscription.
So I only have one that I pay for, and that's Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I pay, I think it's like whatever the cheapest plan is.
Right.
Everything else that I have is to what you were just saying. I either get it through because I have my T-Mobile for my cell, right? I either get it through T-Mobile, I get it through Walmart Plus, or I get it through Amazon.
So because I'm a veteran, I also get stuff through like ID.me.
Mm-hmm.
And they give me a veteran's discount right off the bat with that stuff. So I get some of that stuff through there too.
But if I wasn't getting them for free, I wouldn't have them.
Or reduced, I would. Yeah,
I wouldn't even do reduced, Curtis. You know,
yeah.
That's me. I'm not judging.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, right. So I mean, for us, good Lord, I mean, we're not doing financially bad. I mean, the thing is I would say we're pretty typical. And I mean, I don't know. There are some days that some months are easier than others. My last child support payment was paid on May 1st. So that's helped.
That's a big difference.
Right?
Did you have a party on that?
Well, so his graduation party was that June.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to pay over $1,000 for that. So I got a little like, whoo. But now that everything's like simmered down, can start like focusing on the things that I really got a lot of debt on. And I went into debt over two things. One was advancing this agenda with shared parenting and men's issues and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I went into debt on was going on trips to see my son do electric car and football and driving all over.
Yeah, that is different. That's not an expense, so to speak. That's an investment.
Right.
You're investing in your kid.
Right. And here's the thing. I mean, there's always ways to make more money.
Well, that's the other thing, right?
You just got to be. I knew I was going to cut in different areas. I knew I was going to live a little bit leaner in different areas. And, Jamie and I have our finances completely separated. I will not cross commingle.
Really?
I will not.
Good for you. No, that's the smart. See, that's the other thing that we could kind of talk about.
It would have to be a cold day in hell. Mm-mm.
What I tell people to do, what I have done, I have my accounts, she's got her accounts, and we have our joint accounts that we both fund for things that we both pay for.
Mm-hmm.
Utilities, that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
That's how you should do it. Everybody.
Well, I personally, here's the thing. The house is mine.
Mm-hmm.
I pay the utilities on it. I pay all the stuff. If there's stuff that she has to put towards it, I pay her back.
So you're kind of doing the same thing, right?
Well, the house is completely mine. I will not let her take it in the event.
Nor should you. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Because it's my VA loan.
But I always tell people to do kind of what you're doing and what I do, right? Is if you're going to get married, if you're going to live together, if you're going to, whatever term you want to use or whatever style, because there's so many of them now, you have your account. She has hers.
She doesn't.
And they are completely separate. You can do whatever you want with your money. She can do whatever she wants with hers. You take the household expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So, in your case, you don't have it split. It's you, but
she pays the groceries.
I was going to say I would have her.
She pays 100% of the groceries.
Yeah, pay rent, right? It could be by paying groceries, right? Something like that. And you can work that out individually, but you put it all in writing, first of all, right? And that way both parties are protected. So, I mean, when I met my current wife, this is kind of what we did, right? I ended up moving in with her. That house was in her name. I paid her rent, right? We had our joint account for all the mixed stuff, food and electricity and all that crap. But she had her account. I had mine. I don't even know what's in her accounts. Nor do I care. That's her money.
If Jamie had a slush fund and a gold pot of, whatever, a fortune in hers.
Good for her, right?
Yeah. Like me, I don't care. I don't want to contaminate. I don't want to commingle. If we separate, when we do, if it happens, we go our separate ways. I'm not going to sit there and latch onto her 401k. I'm not going to latch onto her IRAs. She has her stuff. I have mine. We're out the door. Peace.
And it solves so many problems, right? We talk about prenups, and this stuff can be put into a prenup, but it's also something you can do without a prenup, right? Mm-hmm. You can sit down and go, this is what we're going to do. Put it all in writing. Get it notarized even. Judge is going to look at it. It's not the same as a prenup. It's not a quote-unquote legal document, but it is a contract. Mm-hmm. So it gives you something. And this way, Women hate it generally that you're doing this. Well, that means I got to pay 50-50. Yep. Well, he makes more than me. Too bad. So sad, honey. Go get a second job. Right. Because if it was the other way around, that's exactly what I tell the guy.
Yeah. So we looked at stuff, and our take home pay, I think it's the difference is like $700 a month difference. You know what? I don't have all this Amazon stuff coming to the house, but she does. That's her business.
It's her money too, though.
Right. She doesn't question if I have a big expenditure, like 2 computer monitors and a new computer. She doesn't say anything to me about it. If I were to, and I did do this, I went out and I got a new car a couple years back.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I said, I can trade the van in, get a lower payment, lower gas, better insurance rate. That's what I'm going to do. She's like, your money, not my problem.
And it solves all of that,
so
right?
Much.
You know, like Country
so
just
much.
asked, like Country wants to know, you know, you did the addition on your house, what I'm sitting in. How did we cover that? It was out of our household fund.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we just wrote a check and got it over with. I don't take debt unless I have to. The only debt I really have is our mortgage. And the only reason I have that debt is for the tax benefits.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's the funny part. Like, okay, so like I think what he's getting at is your addition that you're doing the podcast in, and you're getting podcast money from YouTube and places like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think where he's like at, so does some of that money go to fund that? Well, yes, naturally. But I think in my situation, it's funny because before the show started, you were talking to my 10-year-old.
Right.
And my 10-year-old's like, he takes initiative. He's like full of ingenuity. He's doing stuff and he's only 10 years old. He's got his own podcast. He's doing storm chasing stuff.
That's
the
awesome.
kid is like, lights come on. And I'll tell you something else. Even if Jamie was upset with me and wanted to burn me, she couldn't because of the relationship I have with those kids.
Mm-hmm. And those are the things like what we're talking about, you know, for the guys that are listening and the women is you've eliminated with your situation and mine. And
Mm-hmm.
we do it slightly different, but the net result is the same. We've taken the money issues out of the relationship, mm-hmm. right? Because one of the biggest things that couples fight over is money. It used to be the biggest thing. I don't know if it still is, but I probably think if it ain't, it's top 2 or 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't matter who makes what, right? If I make less than my wife right now, technically in income, right? Because she's still working. I'm do this.
Mm-hmm.
She far out earns me. God bless her. God bless her, right?
I think our wives are in the same profession, if I recall.
Yeah. So, you know, when you look at that, she does what she wants with her mm-hmm. money. I am the opposite. I am so freaking frugal. I can't use the term that my wife calls me because it would be crossing a line, right? But trying to get a penny out of my hand is damn near impossible, right? But that's me. You know, I have my things I splurge on. Like they were joking earlier, I said coffee, and what did he call me? Coffee. I think it was Country called me a coffee something or other. I am a coffeeholic. Right? I drink 3 pots of coffee a day. I want the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I pay for it. Right? She would drink Maxwell House.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. You know, we compromise on that. And that doesn't mean we go nickel and diming every little thing. Right. That's you don't need to do that. We're talking about the things that show up every month. Rent or mortgage, utilities. My wife wanted a newer car. She went and got herself a new car. Well, not new, but a newer car.
Right.
It'll be a cold day in hell. I will drive that van until it sinks in the ocean. Okay. I probably average 8,000 miles a year because I walk where I want to go and that kind of stuff.
Mm.
does a little bit more miles, but she wanted something newer.
Mhm.
Good. There you go. Here, I helped her as far as finding the car and all that. That loan's in her name. I'm
Right.
not on the hook at all.
Mhm.
So if God, nothing's ever going to happen with us, right? But if anything did, that's her bill, not mine.
Right. And that doesn't always happen in every state. When you got a community
So you got to
property
be careful
state,
with that. You got to be careful with
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
Because
that's where you can prenup something like that.
yeah, Arizona, Texas, Georgia, there's other states. If her debt, it's your debt. And it's like,
Yeah, and that's crazy, right?
Right.
Okay, you call me a coffee junkie. No, I'm a coffee holic. Hi, I'm Dan, and I have a coffee. But you know,
I
you
just went
look
back to
at
the movie Finding Nemo.
yeah,
I am not out of fish in 7 days.
but you know, it's when you start running into that, you want to mitigate as much of that as possible, and you're doing it ahead of time. I am too, and that's the advice I give to all the guys. And by the way, ladies, that advice applies to you just as much. It's not a gender thing at all.
Yes.
Right.
And I'll tell you, we started off our marriage with our finances combined. And I'll tell you what happened. I was in arrears on child support.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can't take VA disability, right? But her money was going into my account too, because we have a joint account. Well, they froze the account, and she had like $19,000 in it. She was losing her ever loving mind.
And rightfully so.
Right. And I called the caseworker at DHS, and I put him on the phone with her. And got him to release the money because
I'm surprised he did, actually.
right. But it got him to release the money. I don't know what the whole thing was, but the agreement was I would pay $1,500 on this to get an agreement to release it. And then that's what happened is I paid $1,500 extra that month to release it. And then what ended up happening was she went off on her own and had her own account, and I had mine. And that was very early on in our marriage. And ever since then, it solved so many damn problems.
You're heading them off before they become problems, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
And here's the other thing that people don't like dealing with it because it forces you to communicate. It forces you to have tough conversations that you should be having.
Oh yeah.
Before you get married.
Oh yeah. And here's another one. Not a whole lot of people know this, but Jamie and I have divorced each other and then remarried each other.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's the funny part, because when the new boundaries were reestablished, those financial ones were clearly defined then.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at that as a whole, what are my goals? My goals are not to deplete my kids' generational wealth. My goals are to set my kids up for success. And my goals are self-preservation along right in lockstep with my kids' preservation. If she's there, great. If not, my priority is my priority.
And if you're in a blended family, that's what you have to do, right?
Yes.
It's, like I have 6 kids. Well, I have 5 biological. I have a stepson I consider to be mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
With my second wife. My wife has 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't do something, I can't say for certain it would happen, but I suspect it would be a war, right? So we have wills in place. We have everything documented. Who's getting what, how much, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Trusts become involved, irrevocable trusts and all that stuff. You've got to, this is what I want guys in particular, because I think women think about this stuff more than guys do. I'm going to say that. But guys, if you're going to get into a marriage, whether it's first, second, 15th, I don't care. You need to protect yourself. And in turn, you're right. Because I think you have it on somewhere on here with the average attorney bill or something like that. Is
Oh
that
yeah.
So talk about that, because and I've seen higher bills, by the way, than you, but
okay. So the legal fees on average are $44,120 per side. The median attorney fees are $18,400 per side. Then you're literally depleting generational wealth. You either have to go into debt over it, whatever. The highest bill I've ever seen on one side was 160, or in one case was 161,514 on the father's side / husband side, and 315,000 on the female side. Why did it need to be that damn high? They didn't, and I'm going to tell you, they didn't even have a $2 million marriage.
And that's the point, right? So
they didn't have a net estate, marital estate of $2 million, not even $2 million.
Like my first divorce, probably, well, my number wouldn't be 161, it'd be around 100, so it was 6 figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hers was well over 3 that I know of. And that's why I made sure that wasn't going to happen in my second marriage, and we ultimately separated and divorced. We hammered out our divorce agreement I've talked about before in about 2 hours, and then handed it to an attorney and said, make this legal, right? Because she saw what I went through. She saw the financial thing, and she understood. She had been divorced before too, right?
Oh yeah.
We weren't going to have that, because all you're doing when you go to war like that, and I say this to both sides, if you go to war like that, you're handing your child's college to an attorney. You're handing your retirement to an attorney.
Correct.
You're handing whatever it is, like generational wealth you talked about. Rather than pass on to your kids, say your house, because people will mortgage their house to cover the attorney's fees.
Yes, they will.
Now, 30 years down the road, you go to sell the house. Well, you may still owe money on it, whereas your kids could have had it free and clear. This is why you want to get ahead of this stuff.
And
right?
You can discharge your attorney fees in bankruptcy. That's why attorneys go, if you're already in debt, let's do a bankruptcy before we start this.
Yeah, because then you can't refile for 7 years?
8.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's what we're talking about, guys, is pre-plan for the divorce. It doesn't mean your marriage is going to fail, but the honest truth is 55% of all marriages fail. Second marriages, it's close to 70. Third, it's 75. If you're going into that and you're going, well, we'll just split everything up. It's no big deal. We're just going to, we'll have a joint account and we'll put our money into it and blah, blah, blah. And anything you accumulate, you could have this house for, I know many guys, and I know you too, have been in these houses for 20 and 30 years and walk away with nothing.
Not a damn thing.
Not only not a penny, they end up paying money for a house that's no longer theirs. Right? Yep. You cannot do that, gentlemen.
That's the other thing too. Men do this, and it drives me up a damn wall. They will not fight for what is theirs and what is fair. They just want the hemorrhaging to end.
They want and
it's like, you don't understand. You give her what she wants, she takes more and then some.
The other side of it too, to be fair, is we got to pick your battles, right?
That's true. But
I remember
your
don't laugh at this.
Preservation.
Yeah. So I talked to a guy probably about a year ago now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm laughing because I remember the conversation with the guy vividly. They had spent, between the two of them, close to $100,000 battling child support. It was triple what he was going to pay. Total till the kid was 18. The max, if they hit him with every freaking penny that he was going to pay, was somewhere around $35,000. The two of them spent $100,000 fighting over $35,000. That is beyond stupid. You got to pick your battles, right?
Yeah. Yes.
There are things you definitely want to fight for. You want to if you're getting denied access to your children, yes, you need to spend the money to fight that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to court, I'm not going to pay her another $50 a week in child support. Okay, the attorney will go, I want 10 grand.
That is a pointless argument.
But they do it all the time.
Some of them say, well, it's the principle of the matter.
What the principle? Okay, you want to spend.
She wants the money more than I do. Fuck, I don't like $200. You know what? Use it as a fucking negotiating tool and say, okay, I want 2 more days per week with the kid.
You can do that too.
Oh, right? Fuck. There we go. Sorry. Yeah. I'm just things like that really get me going.
Well, I mean, but that's what we're talking about here, right? Is you have to step out of the emotion and look at all of this from the fiscal perspective. And I don't pretend to be a fiscal guru, but I've done all right. I put my money in stocks way back when. Mm-hmm. When I was broke, I worked for a company. I had the ability to buy stock options. I was dead broke. I was buying ramen noodles and cheeseburgers at McDonald's, but I still invested in the 401k.
From the dollar menu.
And I was investing in the company stock. Mm-hmm. That stock is worth a crap load of money right now. All right. I suffered for 3-4 years. I was struggling 3 or 4 solid years. But I was putting away, ballpark was around $20 a paycheck. And I got paid weekly at the time into that stock fund. Mm-hmm. So, when you add it up, 52 weeks was about $1,000 a year I was putting into that stock fund. I did that for about 5 years, and that stock's worth well over 6 figures, right? But you look at it and go, okay, if I really got to the point where I was going to be homeless, I would have not done it, right? But you got to pick your battles. And that's where making these decisions when you're younger is key, and you want to protect your wealth, gentlemen, because again, women are much better than men at it. I'm sorry, guys. We, like you mentioned earlier, we don't want the drama, the fight, any of that until we do. And then, you said it, I see Steve said it, it's the principle of the thing. Okay, average attorney is going to ask for 10 grand up front to go fight a case. If you're lucky, some of them want 20 now, right? At least the ones I've been talking to.
Yeah.
You're going to pay a $10,000 non-refundable retainer. Doesn't matter if you spend it all. He's still keeping it.
And they still $50 a week. Want you to make monthly payments on top of that retainer.
Yeah, for $50 a week.
Yes, pick your battles.
Pick your freaking battles. And then the problem is you're broke because you fought for that, and then she withholds the kid. Now you got nothing to go and hold your rights up there, which I would argue that's when you do it.
That's right? That's when you want to spend the money.
Right. It's, things like that is you've got to make smart, prudent decisions. And, we're in a bad economy right now. Things are what they are. I don't care who you want to blame. It's irrelevant. You want to blame one side, the Democrats or Republicans? I don't give a shit because they're all guilty. I'm sorry. Right?
They're birds of a feather.
They don't care.
No.
Right? They do not care. Right. So we have to look out for ourselves. And the ways to do that is live cheap.
Yep.
I talk about cars. The only way I would buy another car is if I could pay cash for it. I will never have a car loan. And I see people out now because I'm looking for a Jeep because I want to have a little fun, right? But my budget is about 10 grand and it's going to be paid in cash. If I can't find a decent Jeep for 10 grand, and it's not going to be new, obviously, it might be 10, 15 years old, I'll wait. I will wait and wait and wait. I don't care if it takes me 5 years. And if I don't find one, I don't care. Right? It's a toy. I'll splurge, but I'm going to pay cash for it. Money's actually already set aside for it. That's what you need. Your mindset needs to be. Yet I see guys going out spending $80,000 on pickup trucks. Car payments are $800-900 a month, and then their insurance is another $200-300 because hello, you got collision, you got comp. And most of these guys are in their 20s. So guess what? The rates are sky high. And oh, by the way, they're paying 14% interest. What the F are you thinking? What the? I'm so I get now you got me riled up. I got myself riled up. But this is what I talk to with guys, right? I can't manage it. You're driving an $80,000 truck, dude. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's my one thing. It's a thing you can't afford, dude. Right? Don't be wasting money. A car is you're buying it for status, is what you're buying it for. And if you can't pay it off into the showroom, don't buy it. Go find a junker. It'll get you where you need to go, right? And that's what I want more people to realize, because like I said, I splurge on some things. Coffee is one. I like a good steak. I ain't buying steak at Publix, okay? I'm going to go get a good steak. Those are the things I splurge my money on, but I don't go crazy either. I don't have steak every night. No. And that's why I'm able to, this is why I can do what I'm doing with you guys, right? It's because I've done all this work ahead of time. And, you know, when I look at guys, 25 years old, $80,000 truck, they're in a penthouse apartment. What are you doing, dude? Well, you know, about status. They won't say it, but it's all about, I'm going to get the chicks that way. And if any chick that wants you because you have that, you don't want.
No. Kanye sang a song about that.
I don't know. I don't listen to Kanye, so.
Oh, the song is called Gold Digger.
I can honestly say I've probably never heard it.
Well,
I can honestly say that. By the way, side note, did you hear the new thing from Oliver Anthony?
I saw it came out, but I haven't had a chance to watch it.
You got to watch it.
Yeah, I saw the title of it. I was like, oh, I got to watch that.
I actually sent a message to him, said, will you come on my podcast? Of course, Rogan got him.
Rogan got him.
I was like, dude, we got to talk. But I have not heard back, and I'm not expecting to. But yeah, that was brilliant.
There's a lot of stuff that got unpacked in the last, I don't know. You know what? We haven't done this yet.
Yeah, we got to do it. I know what you're going to do. Go ahead.
You guys want to like hit that love or like button, hit the heart.
I can't do it like Lindsay does it.
See, I know. She's got like
mine's creepy. It's like I'm Austin Powers here. Show us some love. Give us the heart. Give us the likes. Give us the shares. Let us know in the comments. Seriously, guys.
One
of the things I wanted to ask, and I kind of did earlier, but I wanted to ask, what are the things that you're seeing that you're struggling with, right? I want to have a conversation about this because, again, I'm kind of insulated because I did the right things when I was younger. But like, where are the real struggles that you guys are seeing? Not the things the news talks about.
So I'll tell you this. I mean, Steve said that he's got a $200 electricity bill, and I was like, I wish I had a $200 electricity bill.
Mine's about $191 a month.
So, well, in here they bundle electricity in with the natural gas, but I'm like 500, and I'm like, yeah. Whoa. So get this. I have.
Are you running a server farm or something?
No, that's the funny part, right? But so the kids like their AC, which thank God right now it's out because it would be killing it'd be killing the bill because they'd be running that thing down to 69, and I was like, why does it need to be this cold? And you know, I never thought I'd be my old man when I did it, but I was like, yeah. There's a lot of things you didn't think you'd be like your dad on, right? And I was like
74, and I'm lucky I won't go higher than that.
So, and then, you know, the other things I look at are spending. You know, spending is a big deal. So, and then when I looked at Country made a point about don't blame farmers for the market prices. Well, I don't blame the farmers necessarily. I blame the farming lobby, just like I blame the labor unions, because, but here's the other thing. the labor workers and the farmers aren't going to the farming lobby telling them to get their crap together. You guys want higher prices? Guess what? You got to like stand up just like the women do when they go to lobby. Mm-hmm. And we wonder why these lobbies all fall in line. Well, I don't think any of them have seen a subcommittee at the end of a session where they fought all session long with the legislators. And then all of a sudden they go around the room and it's all like, we really love that you've put all this effort into this, Senator so-and-so. Mm-hmm. And it's like, this is a shit bill. Didn't you guys read it? Why are you kowtowing to this stupid SOB, you know?
Well, we got to start standing up for some of this stuff. Like, I hate to go here. Oh, God, I'm going to regret this. Well, all the news talking about that big, beautiful bill, which is the biggest piece of crap you'll ever see. There is so much. Bacon farmer could, and I know pigs are bacon. A bacon farmer couldn't do that good. It's, when you look at things like that,
$5 trillion. What?
We're at
why
$1 trillion a year paying in interest. All right, people don't understand.
We don't need that.
We're 350 million total people in the country, ballpark. But that's not taxpayers because that includes kids and other people, right? Mm-hmm. That amount of debt that we're dropping on our kids, it's not if the country's going to go bankrupt. It's when. It's not an if anymore. We're past if. We are well past. There is no coming back from it. I don't care how they put it.
No, yeah. So for me, I'm befuddled by all of this because they want to push this big, beautiful bill. And I'm like, no, the very problems that we're having is because we haven't had a balanced budget since the damn 90s.
It's been 30 whatever years. Yeah.
And Newt Gingrich was the speaker. Bill Clinton was the president.
So it was,
every single balanced budget that we've had a Democrat for president.
And that's the thing, right? So the way you got to kind of look at it is, let's say you make
so much for small government.
Yeah. Let's say you make, because the government brings in ballpark $5 trillion a year in tax revenue. Ballpark. Mm-hmm. Right. Think of it like you're making $50,000 a year. Mm-hmm. They're spending $7 trillion. These numbers are a little old, but this is a couple of years ago because I did a whole thing on this on my radio show. So I want you to think about, you're making 50, you're racking up $70,000 in spending every year. So you're $20,000 in debt, you personally, every single year, plus interest. Mm-hmm. And you've done that for the next 30 years. You're now going to owe $600,000 mm-hmm. and no way to pay it off. So you have two options. Keep doing the bare minimum, which is what they're doing, and go bankrupt, which the country will, or get fiscally responsible and start knocking it down, right? And that's the problem.
Steve, you know what? We do need to gang together. You know what? I'll tell you this. When it comes to a balanced budget amendment, the states have already submitted petitions to have a balanced budget amendment done to the Constitution, and Congress has been ignoring it since 1982, and they've had sufficient numbers.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to take the politics out of it. That's the problem, right? It's because they get us all ginned up, hating each other, and then they just keep doing what they're doing. And we're what, 37 trillion in debt now, ballpark?
Yeah.
36, 37, and we're going to 40 in the very near future.
It's going to be in short order because it's exponentially growing.
We have to stop saying it's their fault or it's their fault and pointing to the opposite side.
No, we just need to fix the damn problem.
Right. We need to be realistic about it. And what needs to happen at the country level needs to happen at the individual level, right? Mm-hmm. There are some things that are out of your control. That is an absolute thing. right? But there are certain things that are in your control. And it means you've got to make drastic cuts. Now, we talked about all the things, if you're going through a divorce as a guy, like I said earlier, every penny you can cut, you need to cut the minute you even suspect it's coming.
Right.
You should have an emergency fund to begin with, by the way, but
put it in an irrevocable trust.
That's the best way. But some people, I mean, a trust, I don't know what it is in your area, but it's about $8,000 here, right? You may not have enough for that. Okay, well, if that's the case, fine. What can you do, right?
This isn't legal advice, but I've heard of people doing this. They find a state bank that's on the other side of a border, and guess what? It's not subject to the same state's laws because they're not a national bank and they're only a state bank.
Yeah, there's ways to play the game. Credit unions. Oh, sorry, I had a little cough there. Credit unions. Oh, sorry. But that's what, we look at these things because we're talking finances. Imagine if the national debt wasn't what it was. We had balanced budgets. It was, in my lifetime, we were balanced. There was no national debt, or very, very little debt is healthy, right? Not the insanity we have now. But translate it back to, we're the ones paying for it.
Right.
We're going to do all bullshit you are. Okay. You ain't cut squat. Who are you kidding? All right.
So your operating budget should not be any more than 30% debt. Closer to 20. That
I was going to say 20 would have been the number. Yeah.
Closer to 20 is
at
the
most.
At
most.
And,
and that's where, we've got to stop fighting tooth and nail over whose side is better. Who cares? Because guess what? Our children are going to be bankrupt as a country.
Yes.
And I will be shocked if it doesn't happen in my lifetime. It's not an if, right? And
to win.
I use that analogy think about it in your own personal terms. Would you
generational wealth being depleted during divorce robs your kids of any hopes of owning their own damn home? Think about it when you pay an attorney, especially you women, because guess what? You are 75% of the petitioners at least most of the time.
And here's the thing, and I've had divorce attorneys tell me this. I've had everybody in the court system. They love women because they know if they get them emotionally upset enough, they'll go to war.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, I have a video coming out, and most of you have probably seen the attorney's video where she's talking about, well, men don't come in for divorce because they've got it made. Everything's perfect. They don't have to do anything, blah, 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 blah. Right? Just blonde and all this shit. And I'm like, that chick's worth millions of dollars because of doing what she's doing in that video to every client that's a woman that walks in the door. We're going to get them. And by the way, you won't have to pay my fees. I'm going to have the court pay them. At least I'm going to try. Only for the women to find out later, yeah, you're still going to have to pay, honey, right? And next thing you know, you've racked up, to your numbers earlier, you may have $500,000 in debt between the two of you. That could have all been alleviated. Alleviated. I can't talk right now. Alleviated, thank you. Simply by making some prudent decisions ahead of time to protect both sides. Stop fighting over pennies. Stop spending dollars to save pennies. Think about what is important. What's important is you still want to be a dad to your kids, or a mom for that matter, right? If you're fighting over 20% custody difference, all right, maybe there's an issue there. If it's 2 or 3, what the f are you doing? Because I know of guys, I will take nothing less than 50-50 to the minute. Guys will literally calculate it out. And I saw the other side's offer. It was about 54-46. We're talking the equivalent of what? A couple of days a year.
That
He went to war for that.
So 54-46, it's 8 days times what? Roughly 3.5? So Jesus, that's like 30 days. That's a month. You know how many men I know who would love to have their kids that much.
It's not that much though. I mean, you're
but
talking
in comparison to what they have right now,
well,
2
yeah,
days out of every 14.
But is it worth spending $500,000 over? That's what. And again, I'm not judging per se. I'm saying you got to think about this. If it's gonna, what are you gonna get? You're gonna gain 3 to 4%.
Okay, so if I got my kids my kids 6 days out of every 14, the first 2, if I had it that way, I'd be in hog heaven. It would be a hell of a lot better than what I had.
He wanted to the minute. I mean, he had it all calculated out. And I'm like, dude, and he's looking at $500,000. They have money. Don't get me wrong. They're not broke, but they're not.
That's sort of obsessive compulsive nature.
No, it was he got wrapped up in his emotions. Right.
Right. But I mean, when you hang on to the emotion.
But that's what they do with women, right? These women go in there. We're going to get them. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And I have had attorneys admit they do it. Okay. And they're making bank on it. Keep in mind, every little pathetic, petty motion that's filed. If you're having your attorney do it, at best, it's hundreds of dollars. It's more like thousands. Most of the time, you could do it yourself. It's not rocket science, right? Yep. That's why I did most of my own work. I only used my attorney when I needed her. And I was at war for 12 years. I mean, it was war. But I was fighting for custody. Court stuff, I think she went with me twice in 12 years. Because it's cut and dried. I mean, if you know the law and you can make New York uses child support magistrates, not judges. So these guys aren't even judges, right? Half of them I don't even think are attorneys. The law is cut and dried in New York. So why are you fighting over it? It's a formula. Follow the formula. Make the adjustments over things like daycare and stuff like that. Okay. Spend $50,000 fighting over pennies. It's stupid.
It is stupid. To spend that much money fighting over a few dollars is asinine.
But we do that, and that's the point I'm trying to make with all of this: is pick your battles. It's the same thing with regular spendings, taking it out of the family court realm. Do you really need that $80,000 truck? Do you really need 10? I'm not picking on you, Curtis, but I am. Do you need 10 channels to watch? How many can you watch at one time? One.
Yeah. and you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
I mean, if you're getting them for free, like I get Paramount. I don't even watch half of them. I get Paramount, Prime, Peacock, and Hulu free through my various things. So
I'll tell you the ones I really focus on ensuring that I have subscriptions to, and that's YouTube Premium, and then some Storm Chasers stuff like Max Velocity or whatever, but also to Men Need to Be Heard. See, the thing is you have to reinvest into your.
That's picking your battles, right? I mean, that's the thing, right? You've got us. That's like I've had guys that have said, "Well, I can give up this, this, and this, but I don't want to give up my Xbox subscription because that's my piece." You know what? I have no problem with that, right? I mean, I don't know. I have no clue what an Xbox costs, but
I think for an Xbox year subscription for the online stuff to be a part of their stuff online, to be online communities or whatever, it's like $60 a year.
I didn't think this guy's was that. I want to say it was like 20.
See, I don't know. And honestly, I mean, it's that's another thing where you go pick your battle. I mean, the alternative was it was you'd $60 a year, or it was $12 a month. I mean,
yeah, but that was what he did, right? That was his entertainment. He didn't have any TV channels other than over the air. He didn't splurge on other things. That was his one little toy, so to speak, right? I don't have a problem with something like that. That's not a problem. That's not excess spending. But when you see, I remember my sons back in the day, the minute a new game came out for the console, they were spending $60 a game. You know, and I mean, they'd buy 2 or 3 at a time. Now they had jobs, but dad was putting the roof over their head at the time, right? You can do that then, but when they're out on their own and dad's not paying for the roof, you got to pay for the roof. And that's where we need to, you know, as men, speak to the men now, take a step back, decide what you want out of life. Because, you know, I think the younger generations, this is my sense, and I want people to disagree with me if I'm wrong. So in the comments, feel free, okay? Respectfully, though. I think the sense of the 20 and 30-year-olds now is, I'm going to live for today and worry about the future in the future. That's the sense I get, right? So they'll spend thousands on trips, and you know, I know people that are spending $50 on Starbucks a day. I mean, whereas me, like I talked about earlier, I banked when I was dead broke. I was buying stock. I was maxing my 401k. I was able to retire at 59. Yes, I sold some businesses. That had a big part of it. But I'll never worry about money the rest of my life. And a lot of that will get passed down. But it's because of what I did at 20 and 30 years old. I made the right decisions. And I would love to have gone to, I don't know, say Europe or wherever. But instead of that, you know, instead of taking $1,000, because back then you probably could have gone to Europe for $1,000. I took that $1,000 and dumped it into a stock that's now worth multiple 6 figures.
So I think the biggest thing that you're pointing out here is that we're a society that is really gravitated towards instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Right?
Oh, absolutely. We're following what the politicians are doing with the country.
Right. So we're not investing, we're not saving, we're not suffering up front. We're not, you know, for the later benefit, right? What's funny to me is Spartans would plant fig trees knowing that they would never get the benefit of laying underneath their shade. It was always for their future.
It was a long-term benefit for everyone else but them in that case.
Correct. And I just think that if we thought more like Spartans, if we prioritize our future, our kids' future, the thing is guess what? We know that fatherlessness is killing our society. We know this. We don't have, like, male role models. What are they? Come on.
I just did a video. I just filmed a video on that today. Wow. Good. Great minds. You know, because there are none, right? And that's why I want to do stuff like you and I are doing right now, Curtis, right? It's that we can be those role models. I'm not saying I'm the be-all, end-all, but I'm trying to give you some advice here, right?
Right.
Take a little short-term pain now. Don't be like Congress is and go, we'll worry about it 10 years from now. Because guess what? 10 years from now, that burden is not going to be overcomable.
No. And here's the other thing that's interesting to me is it's funny, people, you know, cut taxes. That's sexy, right? That sounds sexy. That, cut my taxes. How about you cut our damn spending?
They won't do it, though.
But that's the problem. It's always a spending problem. It's not a revenue problem.
Well, I'll use our local governments as an example. So as I said earlier, our population, certain areas, it's doubled and tripled in the last 5 to 10 years. Okay. Property values have gone up. They are raking in huge amounts of money. And they are spending it faster than they're raking it in. So, like, we sold our hospital for $1.5 billion 5 years ago. All they had to do was take that money, stick it in a tax-free muni bond from the federal government. They could have drawn 50 to 80 million in interest, give or take, never touched the principal, and had all that money to spend for in perpetuity. We don't know where the money is. That's the scary part right now. Nobody really.
How do you not know?
They're hiding it. I could go. You can get me going for 2 hours on it.
How do you think I feel as a mayor? I'm sitting here going, like, this isn't computing in my head. Like, I know where every single penny is as a city.
Mm-hmm.
Every single penny. Like, I even know when funds are not spent correctly because we do audits. We account for the money. We frequently reconcile the bank statements. And guess what? The city council members rotate so that we have oversight. We have, like, less likely to have corruption on the books. We have to open this stuff up to the public. Like, to me, like, you want that transparency piece because it keeps you honest, but you also want people to trust you. That's a no-brainer.
And that's the problem, right? And we're seeing this across the country, state, federal level, local. People don't trust the government anymore. You know, when you look at, like one that I know is coming up is that one of the areas local here, because I'm tied in with some of the politicians. They let this developer put in 8,000 homes, ballpark.
That's a
no
lot
firehouse.
What?
No firehouse. The firehouse that's servicing that area is like 3 miles away, which doesn't sound like a lot. That's a big number. Okay. And by the way, it's got to cover this whole other area, but that one. So
3
guess what?
miles away is like a 12-minute response time.
Yeah. Especially there right now. Right. But here's the thing, Curtis. This is the worst part. Instead of saying to the developer who made tens of millions, you're going to build a firehouse. They didn't do anything. Guess who's now paying for it? The taxpayers. They're sticking because they need a firehouse. You need a dedicated because it's one development. It's a monstrous development. And they're planning on another, I think it's 2,500 homes to go in. There's going to be over 10,000 by the time they're done. And oh, by the way, just between you and I, they're all going to fall apart in about 20 years because they are built like crap. But anyway, you know, and then there's another area here where this is the genius. And it's both parties. Let me be clear on that. Where so they trucked in a bunch of sand, jumped it in to fill in the bank, and built houses on it.
What?
And they've sold this. Oh, it's going to be great. No problem. I'm in southeastern North Carolina. We haven't had a Cat 5 in 50 years. It's not an if. It's not an if. They're going to get one. And when they do, those houses are going to end up in Florida.
Damn, did they not see these sinkholes in Florida?
They don't care, Curtis.
They don't think about this stuff. Like,
no, because they're making bank off of it.
When we go in, we have to invest the money into our engineers. And I'll tell you what, you have to do your research on this stuff. You got to find people who are actually caring about how a city ends up. Otherwise, it's a cluster.
The problem is we keep electing people that don't do what you're doing, right? And that's the problem. But again, I'm tying it back to us. The reason I brought all that up is we do the same thing individually, right?
Yes.
Here's something I want you to think about, guys. And I really want you to think about this. I grew up in a house that was a 3-1, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. I raised 6 kids on a 3-1. I live in a 2-2. Actually, it's a 2 and a 1.5, right? I could have bought a 6 bedroom, 7.5 bath house if I wanted to. Why would I? It's me and my wife. Yeah, we have people come down. Like Lindsay came and visited for a week. I got a spare bedroom. They can stay in that. Why are we spending $1 million on a house for 2 people or even 4?
It doesn't compute. You know what we bought our house for? We bought our house for in 2018, $143,900. It is 1865 square foot. I got 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, like I've got 2 washers and 2 dryers.
Well, you probably do with that many kids.
Well, it wasn't hard to replumb. It was just a matter of putting in a 3-inch line as opposed to 2 1.5s. It made it a lot easier. There's a lot of stuff that we did that were simple, effective upgrades. One upgrade one year was the plumbing, and the plumbing came to about $3,000. But it replumbed everything with PEX. It removed the galvanized out of the equation. We got a new water heater. We got new.
But you did that as a planned expense.
We did,
and you didn't do everything in the house in one shot. You said,
no,
we're going
we
to do
paced
plumbing
ourselves. We've gone room by room room over the last 7 years.
Claps to you. And that's what I do, right? Mm-hmm. I bought this house for $141,000. I don't hide it. This house is now worth around $350,000. I did put an addition on, which raised the value about $50,000. The rest of it is money in my pocket. My mortgage is chump change, right? And as I said earlier, the only reason I have a mortgage is because I get tax breaks.
My mortgage right now, and that's escrow and everything, is $909.
Yeah. That's why I say to people, stop paying rent if you can. Some people can't. I understand that. But get property. You don't need
a new house. You don't.
Go find a fixer-upper.
You can find a 1 or 2 bedroom shotgun house that's only 20 feet wide.
That's all you need.
That's all you need. You just need a roof, somewhere to cook.
I can tell you for a fact, as a human race, we survived literally thousands of years
living in
with
caves.
1-room houses. The whole Middle Ages, all the way up till basically the 1900s, give or take. People lived in 1-room houses, didn't have bathrooms. We managed to survive. But now, oh my God, I listen to some of these people because my wife's cousin's a realtor. These kids, sorry, kids, I'm sorry. I'm using my age here again. I know I'm one of them awful boomers. These kids, they might make $100K. They're putting themselves in for $4,000 and $5,000 mortgages. I'm like, what the frig are you thinking? Well, it's all to beat the Joneses, right? And it's insanity. I mean, in my area, yeah, it would be nice to live on the beach, and I could have. I wasn't paying that kind of money. Because, oh, by the way, not only you pay on the beach are way higher, right? But that's where you've got to be smart about it. If you can, and a perfect example, the house next to us, it was 2 kids in college, and the dad was paying about $2,400 to have the 2 kids. It was a brother and sister, and they were twins type of thing, right? He's paying about $2,400 for an apartment. And he was a smart man. He's like, this is stupid. Bought the house next to me, which he bought it for like $270. They went 2 more years, turned around, he sold it for $320. Now, you back out his mortgage payment. That's a hell of a profit in 2 years, right? Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen every time. You know, the housing bubble could burst, probably will at some point. But those are the smart decisions that we don't think about because we want to live for today. Well, I want that new boat. You know, well, okay. If you really, 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 really want a boat, go get a second job. Put that entire paycheck in the bank account till you have enough to get a boat. Like, people hate me for being a boomer. I mean, I get so much flack for it. You had it easy. No, I didn't. I worked 3 jobs. I was a manager at McDonald's. I was a bouncer at night. And I was a stock boy at Caldors.
My dad worked construction, road construction, and drove truck at the same time.
I used to work, no joke. I did the morning shift at McDonald's, right? Which I wasn't an opener, but I started basically at about 7 a.m. Got done with there at 3. went to the bar and bounced from 5 till 2 a.m. while going to college, by the way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like sneaking a class in here and there. I wasn't taking a full thing. And then on the weekends, I was working at Caldor's as a stock boy. 3 jobs.
Yeah.
And I did that for a number of years. I had no student debt.
Yeah. My dad, I remember paying $1,754 per month in 1993 for us per month in child support based on 3 good months of trucking. And he never duplicated that until 2004.
I mean, I'm retired, but I do this. I work on average 50 to 60 hours a week doing this. I ain't making money.
I don't doubt it.
In fact, I got demonetized on my one TikTok. The whole $29 a month I lost. Oh, poor me. But
$29, damn.
It would have bought me a Dunkin' Donuts thing of coffee at Costco. Because that's what they're about now.
We got like 4 minutes left.
Yeah. But guys, I mean, yeah, because we're going to wrap things up. The thing that I want everyone to take away from this is start making smart decisions. Stop living exclusively for today. I'm not saying you got to get rid of every toy. Start living cheap, right? Figure out the things that you really want. Mm-hmm. Using myself, I want a good cup of coffee and I want a steak a couple times a week. The rest of it, I don't give 2 craps about. You know, you don't need an expensive car. You don't need a penthouse apartment. You don't need a 5-bedroom house when there's 2, 3, or 4 of you. Okay. It was Roger. I would live like Roger. 1-room house with an outhouse if it was just me. Fuck yeah. I'm same as you.
Yeah. Find me a mountainside somewhere. And
I'm with you. So that's my advice, guys. Stop trying to beat the Joneses. Because guess what? I don't care how much money you have. Unless you're Elon or Zuckerberg or a couple of them, you're never going to have more money than anybody else. Stop playing the game because that's what they want you to do. All right. Good show. We were all over the place on it, but I really enjoyed that one. Guys, I really appreciate all of you for sticking with us and all that. I think you can handle that. We didn't do a lot with the comments today because I really wanted to get into this and really talk to people. And we're looking, I wanted to throw this out there. If there are topics you want us to talk about that we haven't in a while, because we're open to it, let us know. Put them in the comments now. Some of you I know email me if there's things you want us to talk about on the live show. I am working on getting some guests in, including some big names. In fact, I've got one that's already committed. We just got to set the schedule. She's a relationship expert. So that'll be fun. But that kind of stuff, we're trying to grow this. Make sure you help us out by sharing it, liking it. Let's do the like bomb real quick before we go. Show us the love. And, you know, we do appreciate each and every one of you for coming, and especially our regulars, you know, people like, the list is endless. I know I'm missing a ton of people. We appreciate you guys coming every week. We have a lot of fun with this, but
and you know, setting this up and getting it going, you know, half hour or so before, you know, we're chumming the water because Country comes in, Steve comes in, Maggie comes in.
Yeah.
It's already going, and we're interacting with you guys right off the bat.
Yeah, come join us, you know, and hopefully down the road we'll be adding more to it. So how can they follow you, Curtis?
K Bauer 82 YouTube, Curtis Bauer Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I got Snapchat. Country and I communicate a lot on Instagram. So
there you go.
Yeah.
And I'm going to need to be heard pretty much across the board. You know, come follow us. We got a lot of stuff coming up, both on this show, but individually. We're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. And we'll just go on that. Whose dog is barking? Not mine.
That is mine. I don't know why.
I got one there and one over there. So, all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, and we'll catch you next week.
All right.